As I stated back in my original video on the 2008 French movie Martyrs, this movie isn't afraid to make you feel absolutely terrible on the inside, and in retrospect, that's honestly an understatement. Martyrs is one of those movies that pulls no punches. Its aim is to make you feel terrible, and by the time you're done with it, you are going to feel terrible. But it's an outlier in the world of disturbing cinema. Yeah, it's gross and over the top, but it's genuinely a good movie, with the only catch being, you'll probably never want to watch it again due to how it made you feel. The original belonged to a genre known as New French Extremity, and as you can probably derive from that title, it's extreme French movies, but new. Basically the type of movies that leave you thinking, yeah, the extinction of the human race probably isn't such a bad idea after all. So with the success and cult following created by the 2008 Martyrs, just like many successful foreign films that came before and after it, it was remade for an English-speaking audience because we couldn't possibly read subtitles. Don't be absurd. For the most part, the video is going to play out in its usual format, with it not being turned into a constant direct comparison between the 2015 version and the 2008 version. It'd be interesting for enjoyers of the original to follow the video, if there is such a thing as a person who enjoys the 2008 original, and notice the big and more subtle differences between the two versions, and when I reach the end, I'll discuss the changes that this version made and my thoughts on them. Unlike that one dreaded scene in the original Martyrs, thanks to today's sponsor, the only thing you'll be shaving away is hair and not your skin. Please, Manscaped do not want you to remove your skin. Feeling your best starts with looking your best, which is why Manscaped are hooking you up with all the right tools and formulations designed specifically for men. There's a lot to fall in love with at manscaped.com, including the Perfect Package 4.0, your all-in-one, head-to-toe grooming and hygiene kit, which, let me reiterate, is for removing hair and not your skin. The first thing inside the Perfect Package kit is their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer. Manscaped's 4th generation electric, cordless, waterproof trimmer with advanced skin-safe technology, which reduces nicks and cuts on the most sensitive regions of your body. With up to 90 minutes on a full charge, it's got a super smart charging system with a wireless charging dock and little LED lights on the front to show you how much juice you have left. It's also got a travel lock feature enabled by tapping the button on the front 3 times, to save you from some rather unfortunate situations if TSA freak out after hearing a faint humming noise coming from your bag. Also included in the Perfect Package 4.0 kit are 2 products which are perfect for all-day protection or just a quick freshen up. The Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and the Crop Reviver Ball Toner Spray, which are both game changers. They've even got their own little nifty disposable shaving mats to help with the cleanup when it comes to removing the hair and totally not human skin. When you buy the Perfect Package 4.0 kit, you'll also get 2 free gifts, the Shed Travel Bag and the Manscaped Anti-Chafing Boxer Briefs. Head over to manscaped.com to get 20% off, plus free international shipping, plus 2 free gifts when you use the promo code BIGWILL20 at checkout. The movie begins with this young girl managing to free herself from these poorly tightened restraints and fleeing from this dark, dilapidated warehouse. A month passes and we learn that the little girl is named Lucy and she is now living in an orphanage run by nuns. She ends up becoming best friends with another little girl named Anna, who uses the tried and true technique of making friends that is bringing them cookies. At this point, it's not exactly clear to the viewer the level of torment that Lucy has endured by her captors, but whatever was done to her clearly has imprinted some kind of lasting effects. She's quiet, hesitant to make friends, and refuses to assist the police with their investigation into the kidnappers. Lucy believes that she's also being stalked by some kind of supernatural entity that only seems to attack her when she's alone and most vulnerable, with this terrifying and demonic-looking figure tormenting and attacking her as she tries to sleep. 10 years then pass, and we see a man outside of his home digging up a hole to place a pipe in, unlike the original, where it was a woman digging the hole, cause women can't dig holes, am I right? Inside the home, we see as the family is getting ready to start their day. The mother is cooking the kids breakfast, the brother and the sister banter back and forth in a way that's typical of kids their age, with the dad interjecting playful jokes here and there. It looks like your nice, run-of-the-mill, everyday family with the white picket fence, living the American dream. The doorbell rings, and as the father answers it, he's blasted across the room with a double-barrel shotgun, quickly followed by the shooter entering the house and shooting the mother point blank. The daughter flees, and the son sits there motionless in fear as he's just watched this complete stranger enter his house and execute his parents right before his eyes. The shooter asks the boy, "Do you know what your parents did?" quickly followed by another shotgun blast through the chest after noticing his hesitation to answer. The shooter enters a bedroom where the daughter is hiding and steps onto the bed before aiming the shotgun directly down and pulling the trigger. The killer is Lucy, the girl who was kidnapped and tortured as a child. Lucy calls Anna, unaware of the bloodbath that's just ensued, and asks her to come and meet her at the house. Anna arrives to discover the events that have just unfolded, and not being a particularly big fan of executing entire families, she leaves, wanting nothing to do with the mess that Lucy has just created. And as Anna leaves the house, leaving Lucy alone once again, we see that for the past 10 years, the demonic creature that's been haunting her still hasn't left. She fires through a door at the creature before being tackled down the stairs by it. She tries to reason and plead with the creature, stating, "I did it, it's supposed to be over," leading us, the viewer, to believe this was far more than just some kind of horrific revenge mission against the people who hurt her. She believed that putting a stop to her abusers would also put a stop to her torment by the creature, meaning that the two are linked and that the creature is merely nothing more than a representation of Lucy's pain, suffering, and grief. Or there's demons in this world. After hearing the gunshot, Anna returns to the house to find Lucy hiding in a closet, where she tells Anna the only way to make the creature leave her alone is that if she cleans up the bodies and makes it like the family never existed. Not exactly sure where she got that logic from, but Anna hides the shotgun under the sofa, and the pair drop the father and the son into the already conveniently dug hole, and Lucy decides that this is the right time to go and take a nap in a house full of dead bodies, because murdering a family is hard work. After being jump scared by someone who was believed to be dead, Anna finds the mother still alive on the floor, albeit with her guts leaking all over the place, and attempts to quickly get her out of the house before Lucy finds out. Lucy, despising the woman for all of the pain and suffering she's caused her, and believing that this is the only way to stop the creature, she tackles the woman from behind and repeatedly stabs her to death. Lucy isn't exactly happy that Anna attempted to save the life of someone who's hurt her so badly, and starts to question whether or not if Anna even believes that the suffering she went through was true. But once again, Lucy is violently attacked by the creature as it smashes her head into a picture frame, stabs her in the leg, and slams her into a table. But as Anna walks in the room to check on the commotion, she discovers Lucy committing these acts to herself, confirming to the viewer that yes, this is a manifestation of all the pain and suffering that she's been subjected to, and in actual fact, not a creepy looking zombie lady. After calming Lucy down and getting distracted, realizing that all of her suffering will never end, regardless of how many people she kills, Lucy throws herself from the balcony, landing on the floor below. But unlike the 2008 original, Lucy survives the attempt against her life, and Anna lays her on the sofa to rest as she attempts to clean up the mess committed by her mass murdering accomplice. But in the process, she accidentally uncovers a fake door hidden behind cleaning supplies in a closet, followed by a locked industrial hatch and a ladder. After entering this mysterious secret part of the house, she discovers pictures of deceased or dying people littering the walls and multiple locked doors, clearly designed to keep things in. After trying the doors, she eventually finds one of them that are unlocked, and inside, she discovers a young child named Samantha, no older than Lucy must have been all those years ago. She's alone and terrified, restrained with metal chains in this dark, sterilized looking room. Certainly not quite as shocking as the woman with metal plates bolted into her skull, but it'll do. Finally deciding that now is a good time to flee the house full of dead bodies and torture chambers, she frees Samantha, gets Lucy, but hears multiple cars begin to pull up outside. They climb out of the upstairs window as the people enter the house, and the trio make a run for the nearby orchard. At least they attempt to, as after hiding amongst the foliage and trees, despite their best efforts, all three of them are captured and taken right back to the house and restrained. After a night of waiting and wondering what exactly it is that they have in store for them, a woman arrives at the house and shows visible excitement at seeing an unconscious Lucy. She recognizes her. They're once again moved, but this time, Anna wakes up in one of those metal sterile rooms where she found Samantha, and can hear in the adjacent room Lucy being tortured as she's repeatedly assaulted with a drill. After they're done puncturing multiple holes into Lucy, they decide to move their efforts towards Anna, where they have something slightly different in store for her. They place 2 pads on either side of Anna's head and begin to repeatedly electrocute her over and over as she sits there in complete agony, unable to make the men stop the unbearable torment. Eventually, the women are allowed to rest, and we can hear Anna singing knick-knack paddywhack to Lucy through the walls, because what else are you going to do to unwind after an intense day of electrocutions and bone drilling? Anna is then taken to the mysterious woman who entered the house before, and the woman begins to explain to Anna the importance of Lucy, telling her that they believe she is what they call a martyr, a woman who, despite the unthinkable odds, the extreme pain, suffering and torment, will, no matter what, get back up and keep on going. Oh yeah, that's why she jumped off the balcony earlier. She explains that in a martyr's last minutes of life, they transcend and are able to see and experience something that no one bar a small few can see. What comes next? This entire organization is dedicated to kidnapping women and children and putting them through extreme suffering so that in their last moments of life, they're able to tell them what they see. Anna is then knocked unconscious and thrown into a hole in the backyard, which happens to conveniently contain a pipe that leads directly out the side of the property. A minor oversight if your intentions were to actually kill the woman, and we see that Lucy is wheeled into an operating room, and all of the people who have seen the original are now squirming in their seats because they know exactly what's coming next. She's restrained to a table and slowly skinned alive, screaming out in agony as her back skin is slowly peeled away from her. Anna manages to make her way out of the pipe, and instead of fleeing and informing the authorities, she decides to turn back around and head towards the house, because all of a sudden, this is now a revenge movie. She brutally kills a man with a shovel, kills another with the snapped handle as he comes to investigate, and executes a third with the shotgun she hid under the sofa, making me question whether or not I accidentally put John Wick on instead of Martyrs, because I certainly don't remember the original going down this way. She heads downstairs and manages to kill 2 more in the process, because I guess this well-trained organization really isn't all that well-trained, but manages to get herself shot in the process. She's about to be killed by one of the men, but is saved just in time by a woman who she found locked in one of the cells a few moments ago, and is able to free Samantha and send her running for help. She heads back downstairs and gets stabbed by a surgeon, but manages to shoot him as if she's from Grove Street and heads forward looking for Lucy. She walks into a room full of spectators watching on as Lucy's barely alive body is strung up on a crucifix, with her skin appearing to be mostly intact, unlike the original where none of her skin was intact. Her eyes begin to roll into the back of her head, and they believe that she's begun to transcend. But I believe that is what you may call a seizure. Anna isn't going to give them the satisfaction of learning what Lucy said, and forces them to remove her from the cross while learning from Anna what she saw, immediately followed by the priest conducting the event, picking up Lucy's gun and shooting himself with it. The woman in charge begs Anna to tell her what she was told, but Anna responds by letting her find out for herself and shoots her too. Everyone flees without finding out the information, and Lucy lays down next to Anna's lifeless body, and her eyes begin to roll into the back of her head because apparently they're both martyrs. Which then brings us to the end of the 2015 American remake of Martyrs. And after watching it, yeah, I do understand the disappointment associated with this movie. If you had no idea of the 2008 original, and this was your only experience with this story, then yeah, fair enough, it's not a terrible movie, and it seems to be a somewhat unique experience. But it's when you compare it to the absolutely brutal, but incredibly impactful, thought-provoking original, it kinda just falls short. Let's cover the elephant in the room first. It is nowhere near as horrific and soul-crushing to watch, which in a lot of cases could actually be perfectly fine. I don't believe that you should always just cram in horrific and disturbing things to cheap out in an attempt at making something extreme. But in this case, it negatively affects it. I believe the purpose of the horrible nature contained within the original is that so you could feel as much of Lucy and Anna's pain as possible. It doesn't sugarcoat it, and it doesn't skip over it. You see it, and you emotionally feel it all. For instance, the original had many callbacks to Lucy's time as a kidnapped child, where we could see many of the actions committed against her that led her down this dark and disturbing path. She isn't just messed up and seeing things because she was kept in a creepy warehouse, she's messed up and seeing things because she was kept in a creepy warehouse and horrifically abused for long periods of time. She manages to escape their clutches in the original with nothing more than dumb luck. She manages to break the ankle of one of her captors, giving her an opportunity to free herself, whereas in the remake, she kinda just breaks out of her bindings and runs away, with no real resistance whatsoever, making this organization, who are presented as being incredibly well put together, just look incompetent. The meaning behind Lucy's encounter with the demon is entirely lost in this version as well. There's just kind of an evil zombie lady in the movie that we're not really meant to question, whereas in the original, after all of the pain that's caused by the creature, we eventually do learn that it's a manifestation of all of her guilt after seeing that woman locked up in the same facility as her, but choosing to leave her to be killed and running away to free herself. But here, creepy ghost lady. There's also other strange differences, presumably made to dial back on the depressing nature of the original. original, like Lucy's character being mixed for Lucy and Anna in this version. As in the original, Lucy never even made it downstairs to the torture chamber, as she had already taken her own life back upstairs, with now that story being spread out between both of the characters, and the woman with the metal plates bolted into her skull and her jarring execution replaced with Samantha and her ultimately getting away at the end. Anna going on that little killing spree against a large group of dangerous armed men, because we've got to give the viewers a bit of justice, right? It's like they've added all of those little changes to the story so that they can go ahead and say, hey look, we're not a totally depressing horrific movie, kind of missing the entire point in the process as to why the original was a totally depressing horrific movie. It's like they looked at the anxiety-ridden, almost tear-jerking scene where Lucy arrives at the family's home and savagely and methodically kills them all one by one and thought, nah, we don't need all of this well-thought out pacing and suspense, make it nice and snappy. Or the scene where Lucy has all of her skin that's attached to her body, well, not attached to her body, as one giant FU to the audience and went, let's dial that back a bit, families might want to watch this with their kids. With the risk of starting to sound like a broken record, I think I'll leave the comparisons there. But you get it, right? It's somewhat perplexing to me, the idea of taking a movie that's known for being extreme, that's literally part of a movement called New French Extremity, and making it not extreme. Oh yeah, money. With that being said, I'd like to quickly give a shout out to my new clothing brand, Morbid Minds, started by me and my girlfriend. As you're watching this, you may be able to pre-order the clothes now, or if you're watching it even more in the future, we've already officially launched. So if you like the look of anything you see on screen now, make sure you head down into the description to check it out. And before we wrap things up, I'd like to give a big thank you to my patrons. Thank you to Dom, Bort, Hunters263, Rebecca Pitt, Total Drama Rebooted, A Dandy in Space, Martin Brannan, Natasha Twyman, Rin and Whiskey, Jarrett C. Bees, Nicholas, Pascal Mathis, Fighting the Pirates, Tajvir Sandhu, Richard McGowan III, Eddie Shivink, Macy J, Reese Harford, Horatio, Jamie Thompson, Raimi Patterson, Chris, Michelle, Newcomb, Dennis, Wade Knott, Ike, Mr. J2, Monopogy, Ashley L. Wintz, and Austin Y. Port. Thank you so much to my patrons, and thank you to everyone else for watching.